Good day to all. This is Rajasekaran, Assistant Professor, Department of IT, KITE. So I'm going to explain EB bill calculator application using Java. So this uses the basic concepts of Java, and this uses sequential programming and basic data types and one looping concepts. So according to the algorithm, so we have to create a EB bill calculator application using Java. So this has steps, and initially it has two different consumer types, which one is domestic and commercial. So we have two different slots. So we have to code for these things. So we have to get the user details, we have to compute the bill, and we have to display the bill details along with how much they have to pay. So step one is creating hello world program. So we are going to do in incremental manner. So a simple main.java. So and I am creating a bare minimum code called public static void main. So the ultimate aim is to print the hello world. That's all. So we are going to develop from the to electrical bill calculator application. So that's our objective. So I'm just printing hello world system.out.println. So it's the default print statement. So I want to show what this application does. So this is simply a EB bill calculator. So I'm testing, opening command prompt, and I'm going to the folder which has my main.java file. Yeah, EB bill. Yeah. So first I need to check whether Java is No, there is no Java and there is no Java C. So let me check for installation. Yeah, program files. Yeah, the Java is there. Yeah, JDK is there. The minimum requirement is satisfied, but so I cannot find the Java and Java C in my command prompt due to I haven't set the path. So I am setting the path. Set path. Yeah, Java C is working. Java compiler is working. And Java is working. Java interpreter is working. Now I am testing. Java C main.java. So my code is compiled. There is no error. So I am interpreting. Yeah, EB bill calculator. So it works. Simply it prints EB bill calculator. This is my bare minimum code. So now I need to add some basic details of user. Then I'm going to calculate number of units is consumed and display the details. So I'm going to expand this code for these requirements. So I need variables to hold the customer details. The first one is customer name. The second one is service ID. Usually every EB connection have a service ID or a service number. And the third one is previous month reading. So to calculate number of units consumed, we need two numbers. One is previous month reading and current month reading. So current month reading. So I'm not going to get any inputs. So I'm directly assigning the values. So make sure that previous month reading is always lesser than current month reading. Why? Because the current meter is always running forward, not in the backward. So I'm going to print it out, all the details which I have assigned. So this is a typical thing you will find in the EB bill, the basic customer info and the reading details. To display properly, I'm just using some. So I'm displaying the consumer name or customer name. So the customer name is predefined string. So and also my name is stored under customer name variable. So I'm adding. So you can use plus for a concatenation operator. The same way I'm doing for all. Service number, previous month reading, and current month reading. So I need to compute total units consumed. So that is done by current month reading minus previous month reading. So anyway, I need to store that value. So I need a variable that is total units consumed. So total units consumed, that is current month reading and minus previous month. So it must always calculated in positive values. So I'm going to print the total units consumed. So I need to check this. Yeah, I have error because service number, it is an integer type, but it has a value that more than that cannot handle the big values. So integer cannot handle big values. So I need to change. So I'm just changing the value. Now I am trying to compile. Yeah, it's working, but the number of total units consumed, there is no gap, there is no proper way of showing. So making a little bit readable. Yeah, now it is formatted and it looks good. So we can go for next steps. So now I'm computing the cost based on the number of units consumed. Now the cost is statics. So there is no changes according to the reading. So it is a static value. It is a standard value. So the cost per unit. So I'm testing the cost per unit as 1.0, that is 1 rupees. So now I need to compute total payable, which is always total units consumed into cost per unit. Now, so if you are using a static slot, then this is the calculation. So the total payable is total units consumed into cost per unit. So I'm trying to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm printing the payable amount, total payable amount, because the customer need to know how much he have to pay. So, and I'm testing for 2 rupees 50 pice. So I have already tested for 1 rupee. So that shows 477. Now it is 2 rupees 50 pice. 190. So usually the EB bills comes with the slots. So first 101 per unit. So just like that. So I'm going to implement the slot. So this is a slot. 100 first 100 units charge for 1 rupee. Next 100 units 101 to 200 it's 250. 200 to 500 it is 4 rupee. If it is more than 500 units, then it is 6 rupees per customer unit. But it differs because first 100 unit charged with 1 rupee, second 100 unit charged with 2 rupees 50 pice. So I have to make sure that my units are charged based on the slots according to their range. So my meter is going to start from 1 and less than or equal to total units consumed. So every time I need to ensure that what is the cost per unit. The cost per unit is going to assign based on the slot. So if the unit is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 100, which means the current unit which lies in between 1 and 100, then the total payable is, so already the total payable plus cost per unit. So now cost per unit is that right way to put cost per unit? We know the cost per unit, right? So I can assign the cost per unit as 1.0. If the units lies between 1 to 100 means then the cost per unit is 1 rupee. Else if the units from 101 to 200, the cost per unit will be 2.50 rupees. So I'm going to do it for all the slot values. So 200 to 500, the cost per unit is 4 per unit. Finally, if it is crossed more than 500, then the cost per unit is 6 rupees. So I have to add total payable. Every time the loop runs, the cost per unit will be assigned. So that is the cost for that particular unit. So the total payable is accumulated values, always accumulated value, the total payable plus cost per unit. If it is in between 100, the 1 is added, or else if it is 100 to 200, the 250 will be added. And let me check. Okay, it's compiled. Yeah, the total units consumed 477. Total amount payable is 1458. Let me check, is this giving correct values? To make sure that, so I'm going to get the number of units consumed as 101 units. So make sure that, so 8000 is the previous month reading, so 8100 is the current month reading. So exactly for 100 units, it's rupees 100, because the slot 1 to 100 is rupees 1 per unit. So totally 100 units, so 100 rupees. Now I have changed to 101. Now I am trying. Yeah, the 101th unit is charged with 2.50 rupees. So total cost is 102.50 rupees. So let me check for 201. The first 100 is charged with 100. Second 100 is charged with 250. The last one is charged with 201th unit is charged with 4 rupees. So totally 354 rupees. So the commercial slots are different from domestic slots. So there is a change in rupees only. So there is no need of logic change. So I'm going to implement for the commercials too. So only the amount is varies. For 100 units for domestic is 1 rupee, but commercial is 2 rupees. So only the cost per unit is going to change. So I'm going to create 2 block of codes. So I need to know whether the user is a domestic or commercial user. So this is for domestic. So I need to get the user service connections type 2. So it's a boolean value is domestic. It's domestic. So basically it is, I'm going to assign as a true. Because the following calculations are for domestic user. So I'm going to check the condition is domestic before executing the domestic slot. Okay, it is contained. Else, if he is not domestic, then obviously he is going to be a commercial user. So the same logic but we are going to update the cost per unit. For first 100, so we have to set it 2 rupees per unit. Next 100, 4.50, 4 rupees and 50 pies. From 200 to 500, 6 per unit. If it is more than 500, that is 7 per unit. So it is basically that the domestic is true. The same calculations will be repeated. So that is, you have to pay for 201 units 354. So I'm going to show whether the user is commercial or domestic. If the user is domestic, then I have to show the consumer type is so I'm going to tell as a string. So connection type is domestic. If he is not domestic, now obviously it is a commercial user. The connection type is commercial. So I'm displaying the connection type along with the details. So let me check for domestic. Yeah, the connection type is also a domestic. So now I'm going to change this connection type as commercial. So I'm setting is domestic as false. So you can find two different values for the same reading. So second one is high because it is a commercial connection. So it has a high slot rates. So that's it. So we have done the basic EB bill calculator application. Thank you.